Hey guys, it's Penguin here and welcome back to another gold making video. In today's video, we're going to be covering a few shuffles that are doing really well right now in Dragonflight. Now, I do want to say right off the bat, these are not secrets. These shuffles have been popular or have been happening ever since the start of the expansion. So if you're somebody who has been kind of in the shuffle culture or keeping an eye on these items, you're likely already doing these. But if you are a little bit of a beginner, you've never done shuffles before, this video is for you. Also, I have created a spreadsheet to make this all way easier to calculate, so feel free to use that spreadsheet. I will be showing it off in today's video, and you can find it in the description down below. But everybody, thank you so much, and let's get started. And so before we showcase the first example, I do want to highlight three different things. The first one is shuffles are a little bit harder to actually get started in Dragonflight. I always like to relate things back to the previous expansion, so Shadowlands, and so in Shadowlands it was pretty easy to get started with shuffles. Generally all you had to do is make your way to Ouroboros, pick up whatever profession you need, potentially level it up to a certain point, and then you are good to go. In this case, for all the shuffles I'm showing today, you're going to have to level up your profession and also gain some knowledge points, which should be easy to do. I'll walk you through it, but it can take a little bit more time. Also, speaking of time, the second bad news about shuffles in Dragonflight is that they are no longer AFKable. Now, I would say they are semi-AFKable, meaning that you could be on your computer watching Netflix, doing work, doing schoolwork, playing a different game, whatever it is, but you can't really leave your computer anymore. Normally in the past, you could AFK for like 30 to 40 minutes, basically wait it out until you get kicked, and you guys will shortly see that that is no longer the case either. Now, in good news for people who are interested, because of those two factors making shuffling a bit more difficult, that means you likely have less competition. So that is great news for the people who are actually interested in this video. And the last thing I want to say before diving right in is a huge disclaimer about profit. Now, I am going to mention numbers and show you guys numbers in this video, and it is very, very likely by the time you watch this, even if it's just a few hours later, prices are going to change. For example, I might mention, hey, Rousing Frost is going for 28 gold a piece, making me about 5k profit, whatever the margins are. And if you log on and realize that Frost is only going for 17 gold, or you're on the EU region where there's a completely different market, that can scare you a lot. So please hear this from me, please take this advice, make sure you calculate profit before writing any of these off. Don't just immediately go to the auction house, compare the prices in this video to yours, and assume this is unprofitable. That is not always the case. Also, if you guys do find out that this is unprofitable at the moment, you get the spreadsheet, you do the calculations, everything is in the red, don't write it off forever. Sadly, it is inevitable with this video, with the amount of people that is going to see this, people are bound to start shuffling, meaning that resources that are cheap are going to get, picked up, and profits might fall. However, that is just a temporary thing. People are going to get bored of shuffling, people are going to get lazy of shuffling, prices are going to fall, become unprofitable, and it's going to stir people away, but that means it is bound to recover. So if you're watching this video and checking prices, somebody might have already beaten you to the cheap materials, but that doesn't mean you'll not find any more. So keep checking back, don't worry about it, don't write it off forever, and I'm finished talking, let's dive right into this. And so up first, we're going with the harder shuffle first. Now, this is a pretty popular one with Inscription and requires a little bit of setup, but what you will be doing is using this extraction ability, which is brand new in Dragonflight. Essentially, what you are doing is breaking down Dark Moon cards into rousing items, which are those new elemental materials. Now, in terms of setup, let's just get this right out of the way. You will need 40 knowledge points. Now, I know 40 sounds like a lot, especially if you've already done Inscription stuff, but a lot of these shuffles are meant for players who have done no progress in their profession. So if you have an extra 60 laying around, maybe you made an evoker that doesn't do anything, you have some open profession slots, this is for you. Just leveling my profession to 51, which just took a few thousand gold, I was able to get those first time knowledge bonus points from crafting items for the first time, and there's plenty of one-time treasures that you can gather. It took me about 45 minutes to get all of the points that I need, but you will need 40 points. Once you have these, you will need to allocate 10 to archiving, 10 to Dark Moon Mysteries, then your last 20 to the rousing of your choice. In this case, I picked Frost, but watch this video and you can calculate which one is best for you. But in this case, we're going with Frost. And so once you have those points in, you're going to learn this extraction ability. And what this does is just take some cards right here, these 20 for a Frost, and if you use them, they're going to break them down into rousing. You will get anywhere between 3 to 6 rousing, depending on your luck. So right there, we got 3, 5, 4, 6, it's all over the place, but in general, it averages out to about 4.5 rousings per card. Right there, we broke down 20 cards and we got 104 rousings. And that is basically this shuffle. Now, in order to actually calculate this, I have created a spreadsheet, which you guys can find in the description down below. And what you will need to do is input your rousing cost right here. Now, I do want to say this is kind of my behind the scenes version of my spreadsheet, which is why there's kind of some junk on the screen, but it will look a lot prettier on the live version, which you can get in the description. But all you will have to do is type in rousing right here. After that, I've already updated it, you will move on to shuffling right here, and for this shuffle, we will be focusing on this bottom portion. We have already typed in our rousing value, so we're good to go, but now we need to find our average card cost. How you can do this is in-game. What you will need to do is look up of blank, depending on the rousing you want. In this term, we are looking for air, fire, frost, and earth. So we can look up of frost, and you will notice these sort of cards. This is what you're looking for. And you will just need to find an average purchase price. So if we just click on one right here, we can say, okay, there's not a lot cheap. We can move on to the next. Okay, and right here, we can buy 95 of these cards for 99 gold. We can keep that in mind. All right, things are a little bit expensive. And so we can just say our average card cost is about 100 gold. Then you will need to do the other ones for the other cards, and I've already done that. And so those are the current cost. And once you have all of those inputted, you will immediately start seeing profit. Now, depending on how many cards you plan to buy, the profit will look different. In this case, let's say we were going to buy 200 cards. 200 cards, it's going to cost us 20,000 because we're buying 100. Our value of the rousings at the end is going to be about 23,000 because our expected amount is about 890 rousings, which means our estimated profit after auction house cut will be a little bit less than 2,000 gold. In this case with earth, because air is not profitable right now, if we were to buy 100 fire cards, sorry, fire, I just said earth, then we will make about 1,300 gold with just 100, and then earth finally will make about 1,500. So whatever you are looking for, you can put these at the same amount as well. Right now, in terms of the best profit margins, we are looking at earth. This might not always be the case for, your specific timing, but in our case, earth is looking the best. And so at this point, this is where you have to decide on what you want to scale into. We have picked frost, so we have to only focus on frost. But, if you wanted to go earth because that's where the most profit is, go for it. Just remember, you can only pick one unless you plan on farming more points. And so that is really it for this shuffle. Now what you have to do is just click each stack and deconstruct these cards. Now I mentioned this is not very fast and not very AFKable, and the reason for that is because I have to click on each stack, right? So I can only AFK craft for about 18 seconds or so, because that's how much a 20 stack, cost us, and then I have to click again. So, leaving my computer is just really, really not possible unless I'm running to go somewhere and running back. And so, I'm not going to sit here and shuffle all of the cards that I have, but remember that the more you shuffle, the better your results are going to be. For example, if I only buy 2 cards, it's very likely right here, like 3 threes in a row, which is not very good. However, I could get 6, 5, and 6 back to back, which is super awesome. So the more cards you have, the more average your results will be, granting you and more gold. So I don't recommend just buying, 5 cards at a time. Definitely try to buy in bulk to just have better results. And so once you are done shuffling, this is where you can sell off your items. Now, even though we didn't really mess with the awakened versions of the rousing in the spreadsheet, this is where you can make the personal decision. And so right here, you can see that the awakened version is going for 27.3. And if we look at this version, it's just going for 27. So I can decide, hey, do I want to sell these off as rousings, or do I want to sell these off as awakens? It really just doesn't matter. It's just whatever's going to find you the most profit. But in this case, it's pretty even. So honestly, you can do both. So all it takes is for you to right click these. You can put it at a macro if you have a ton to do. But, I can put up the rousings or the awakens, and then I can put up some of the rousings and just let them sell. Immediately, there we go, both of them are gone, so you will have no issue selling these items, and then I can just decide, alright, I'll make some more of these into awakens, boom, and then of course, see, somebody just crashed that, you want to be careful, we can refresh, and it still goes pretty low, so hey, let's just make these all awakened so we don't get scammed out of those prices. And there we go. So it's going to take a little bit, you have to sell those, and there we go. So we have just sold all of those profits, and now we have about 12.7k coming in. So of course that's not all profit because we had to pay for the cards, but this is the first shuffle, and let's move on to number 2. And alright, the second shuffle that we have is tailoring. Now this one is a lot more basic. I think a lot of people might enjoy this one a little bit more, but there is still a setup. And so if we go into right here, you're only going to need 35 points. Now, because I had some extra points, I did some extra things, but you only need 35 for this exact shuffle. What you will need to do is learn textiles and put 5 points into here, learn spinning, and then max spinning out, and then you're good to go. Feel free to throw in other points like I did here, but it doesn't really ultimately matter. What this is going to allow you to do is guarantee a rousing element whenever you are unraveling specific types of cloth, which is exactly what we want. And so in order to actually do this, let's move on to the spreadsheet and show you what's going on. And so once again, this does use rousings. So if you guys have already inputted those rousings, perfect. You will need to input decay since this is used in the shuffle. So make sure you update that if you haven't. And you will need to update these 3 types of cloth. You have decayed, you have singed, and you have frostbitten. After you update these 2, you're also going to want to update spool thread, which is going to be over here most likely. Keep in mind, depending on your skill of tailoring, you will result in a different quality of thread, so just update that to whatever fits your best thread. Once you move over to the shuffling sheet, you have to do a lot less work than the inscription one. All you need to do is type in the amount of cloth that you plan on buying. In this case, we are buying 1,000. And immediately we will see results. So if we buy 1,000 decayed, it's going to cost us almost or exactly 54,000, and we're expected to make about a 4,000 gold profit. Now, Singed right now is not doing anything. Now, in terms of Frostbitten, we're going to only make about 300 gold, but also we're only investing 10k. So, you know, there's quite a big difference. And you can just change this to whatever you like. So, you know, if there's 25,000 cloth available, you can update that, and it's going to be like, all right, I'm going to spend, you know, that much gold, and it's going to make that much profit. But once you figure out exactly what you want to do, once you have your specialization figured out, all you have to do is go to Unravel, select the cloth that you purchased, and unravel it. The nice thing about this shuffle compared to the other is that you can do 200 crafts at once, meaning you can AFK this for a lot longer. Now, of course, it's only 200 crafts, but that's way better than 20 with Inscription. And so after that stack of thread, we got almost 400, we got 387 frost and 221 thread. And this is just a prime example on why you should do big amounts when shuffling. Because this is all just related to an average, in our case, we actually got below it. You know, on average, 1,000 is supposed to give us right over 400 rousing, and we only got, you know, 387. However, you know, who knows, maybe we do another stack, and we got 450, and so that evens us out. So just keep that in mind when shuffling. But once again, you can decide if you want to sell these as, you know, themselves. You can, you know, post it like this, or you can post them as, you know, the Awakened, whatever fits your needs. But as always, these sell super fast. Then the last little topic I want to talk about, which first of all, I will say, you know, you can sell that thread that you get from unraveling that is calculated into the profit of the calculator. Or you can decide to use that thread in your own tailoring crafting, in bags, whatever, or even disenchant shuffling. I don't have a spreadsheet for disenchant shuffling since it's very RNG and I haven't been able to calculate that value, but that is a possibility. But the last thing I want to mention is cooking. Now, I know this isn't a shuffle and I apologize in advance, but cooking right now is doing really well and it doesn't utilize quality, which is pretty good. Meaning it's the simplest profession of the expansion, and also there is a lot of profit involved. And I like to think of it as shuffling just because it doesn't use quality and all of that, even though it technically isn't. And so to throw out a quick example right here, this item which you just get from a vendor, you can look it up on Wowhead, it's just a simple item coming from a vendor. Then you can craft this, and right now the cost is about 37 gold. Keep in mind, all three of these items right here are vendor items, so it may be even cheaper, but it is still super cheap. And if we look up the item itself, you can sell 3 right now for 81. So, you know, you're turning, if this is 100% accurate, which I know it's not, you know, you're turning 37 gold or less into 81 gold, which is a huge profit margin. So cooking is super good. I like to put it on this list just because of how simple it is, but also utilize those other 2 shuffles. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope some of these can help you out. All 3 of these have been making me a lot of gold, so I highly recommend at least giving them a shot. But everybody, as always, thank you so much, and have a good day.